Hello, I'm Dane, and this is Dan Explains. I hope you had a Happy New Year. Since I started doing shorts in 2022, I thought I'd do something a little different to close out the year, since many people don't notice my shorts in their feed. This is my second compilation video of my shorts. This video is a compilation of my science and history shorts. So, without further ado, enjoy the shorts. So when do you become human? Think of starting a fire. The first thing you do is set up the proper conditions to start and maintain the fire when it's really tiny. You get a pile of moss or some other dry material, and you shoot a spark inside. After the fire starts, you protect it from the harsh wind, all the while gently blowing on it to feed and grow it. Once it's ready and the fire is stable enough, you start to add kindling until finally it's a large fire. At what point did that fire become fire? The moment the spark formed when the metal hit the flint? When the spark ignited the moss? When you first spotted it inside the moss, when it consumed most of the moss? Or when it was able to jump from the moss to the kindling? Scientifically speaking, the fire existed the moment that hot spark hit the fuel in the moss and started setting off a self-sustaining chain reaction. It may start small, but as long as it's nurtured, the fire doesn't die out. Before you know it, the fire will be warming and sustaining the very person who ignited it. So, when does a human become a human? Conception. Hubble came along with the discovery that the universe was expanding, so Einstein threw out the idea of the cosmological constant. It should have been obvious that the cosmological constant was still needed. It was thought that the universe's expansion was slowing down due to gravity, and it would eventually reverse. That was until the discovery that Einstein hadn't been wrong about the cosmological constant. Something that Einstein, Hubble, and other physicists should have realized is gravity necessitates a cosmological constant. Without the cosmological constant, the universe eventually ends in a big crunch, as Stephen Hawking thought back in the 90s. The issue is the idea of the big crunch breaks the second law of thermodynamics. If it ended in a big crunch, the universe would end up exactly how it began, but would somehow be able to do useful work, like, create matter, form stars and planets so life like ours can exist and ponder these things. The cosmological constant ensures that entropy increases over time, so even the universe doesn't get to break its own rules and have a free lunch. As it turns out, I was correct about electric vehicles being the future, but I was wrong about which electric vehicles. When GM was forced by the state of California to come out with their first consumer EV, called the EV1, I knew it was a fool's errand. Everyone's leases were up. GM didn't let the people renew. They took the cars back and crushed them. So why was I right? Well, because the EVs only use batteries. As the max range was 100 miles. Why pay twice as much for a car that has a quarter of the range? Along comes Elon and Tesla. Elon's idea you could use the best battery technology was a great idea. Tesla was able to hide the extra cost of the better battery technology in the luxury sports car price. It had double the range of the EV1 too, so it was a car you could also go on short road trips in, if it had room for all your luggage, that is. I still thought that the Tesla would flop. Tesla almost bankrupted. I thought hydrogen was going to be where EVs had a future. It would require similar infrastructure as the current gasoline cars. I was wrong about that. Tesla was able to get past most of the teething issues of battery-operated EVs. Elon ate the hydrogen car market's lunch before they could even get to the table. The leaves on many of the trees decide to turn warm shades of colors. Why don't they just stay green until they fall off? What if I were to tell you those bright colors were there all along? I really hate lightfall. When it's freaking freezing, everything is just gray and dead. For like a month and a half, early to mid-fall has one major redeeming quality: how darn beautiful the fall leaves can be. But why the heck do they do that? One of the biggest reasons for the fall colors around here are actually due to how prevalent the maple trees are in New England. The reason why these trees in particular have such vibrant fall color is because in addition to chlorophyll, which is found in the organelles inside the cells of the leaves known as chloroplasts, they contain lots of two other types of molecules. First are the carotenoids. They give the leaves the orange-yellow color. The other group of molecules are the anthocyanins. They give the leaves the red color. The leaves actually contain those molecules all summer as well. The green of the chlorophyll pigment drowns them out. You can see this if you open up a picture in a paint program on your computer that allows you to delete the green colors. Remember that the brilliant fall color is hidden, waiting for fall to show it off. What if I were to tell you that to produce the same amount of energy as nuclear, the burning of fossil fuels releases much more radioactive waste? Coal only contains trace amounts of things like uranium, thorium, a little more than 2 parts per million on average. How could coal release more radioactive waste? To get the same energy output as a kilogram of uranium, you need to burn about 20,000 metric tons of coal. So that's 42 times as much radioactive waste as nuclear, which is collected and either dumped in a river or put in a landfill. But isn't most fossil fuel power these days coming from natural gas? Well, radon seeps from the rocks into the pockets of natural gas on the ground, at which point it's pumped into people's homes. Radioactive rivers and even radioactive air inside your house. Why would the EPA let companies do this? Well, the concentration of radioactivity released is so low, it doesn't need to be worried about, for the most part. For nuclear, the amount of radioactive waste produced is 42 times lower per kilowatt hour, so maybe it's high time we take a second look at nuclear energy. Halloween has a very pagan outward appearance. Well, the Halloween traditions come out of Christian or pagan practices. Altogether, Halloween, All Saints' Day, and All Souls' Day are called All Hallow Tide. All Saints' Day is a catch-all day to celebrate everyone who is a saint in heaven, give us peons, or lucky enough to become a declared saint with our own feast day. All Souls' Day is a feast day to remember everyone who's died in God's good graces. That includes people in purgatory, and in limbo if there's anyone still there. All Saints' Day goes all the way back to the Roman persecution, although the time was focused specifically on the martyrs. The dream probably started with the practice known as souling. Kids would go door to door on All Hallows Eve asking for soul cakes. In exchange, they would pray for the souls of their deceased relatives. They would carry carved rutabagas. The rutabaga lanterns present the souls of the departed. This evolved over time to people dressing up as the deceased. This is to say that people didn't let superstition in. However, none of this means that Halloween isn't part of a very Christian holiday. What if it wasn't the Founding Fathers' intention for the US to be a democracy in the first place? There has been a growing following to do away with the Electoral College and go to a direct election. Well, the whole thing is, you're saying. The argument that the US should be a better democracy than it is a red herring. The US is not a democracy. It's a republic. Everyone assumes the US is the latter because it's better for the media if people think it is. The US uses a democratic election process, but its government structure is a republic. It was to avoid the tyranny of the majority, as John Adams said. Back then, senators were appointed by the state legislatures and couldn't make new laws. They were supposed to act as a check on the House. The Electoral College was also created to protect the rights of the smaller states. If it didn't exist, candidates for president would basically ignore all the states except the biggest few states. The intent of the Founding Fathers was to give the people a government that protects everyone's liberties. That's what creates a free society, not democracy. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed my science shorts. If you did, please press the like button. If you didn't, please press the like button 3 times. Subscribe to my channel and ding the bell to get notified when I post new videos. Also, please support me on Patreon, link in the description. The more people support me, the more time I can dedicate to making videos like this one. So, until next time, have a great week.